So this time we're going to be making this really cute patchwork elephant with the 4 stitching and a greeting. Congratulations. Here over at Crafting Chaos with another crafting video for you, and this time it's part of our baby embellishments, but it's actually making a card for the birth of a new baby that would be in the shape of an elephant. The first thing I did was wanted to find an elephant silhouette, which I've managed to find on a website called freevector.com, and this was the file that I downloaded. It's a free download and it's created by freevector.com, and it says it's absolutely free, but if you download it and you use it in your projects other than say personal use, you should credit who actually created the file, because I haven't created this elephant. This was created by someone else. Alright, so the first thing you would do is click free download, and then you click this button here, free download, and that will then download it to your machine, and it says about learning, crediting the author. Okay, so that's what you would do. So then once you've got that downloaded, this is the file that we're going to be making, and we're going to start from scratch so that you know how we got there. So the first thing we need to do is we need to bring on the image, and the image is going to be a JPEG, so we're going to need to trace it. We can't bring it on as an SVG because it's not an SVG. To make it an SVG we need to trace. So I've selected the tracing icon. So click choose file, locate in your downloads folder or wherever your downloads go the pack that you've just done. I'm going to be working with the JPEG image, and I'm going to click open. That will bring up a preview of the whole lot of the elephant file as a picture image. My machine's deciding to work a little bit slowly at the minute, so you'll just have to bear with. Right, this is the elephant that I chose with the trunk up. You could use this one or any of the others what suit. So I'm just going to drag the dotted red line just around that image so that I'm just tracing the one elephant. As you can see, I'm doing that just by moving that box around that elephant, and so we've just got that selected. I'm going to drop the number of colours down to 2 because we've just got white and effectively blue, and preview to see if we've got the image. I'm not worried about the eye because I'm going to cut that separately anyway. And we can see it's got a turquoise bounding box all the way around the elephant, so we can see it's traced. So we're going to click OK. It'll ask me, do I want to paste the image alongside the other now SVG file, but we don't need to do that, so click no. And that will load up the elephant onto our mat. What I'm going to do then straight away is make a duplicate and put it off to the side. I'm going to duplicate again, and also one more time. So I've got 2 copies on my mat and 2 off to the side. I'm going to take one of the ones on my mat and go edit. I'm going to select it, say edit, and flip on the vertical axes. Then I'm going to bring them together so that they are level at the top. We could do it at the bottom, but we want them to be on a level. Then I'm going to click on one and scooch it across using my keys until they are just overlapping like so. At this point, if you wish, you can always just make sure that you've not moved it and that they are still level at the top before doing processing the overlap and weld. That's giving us the elephant that we need for the card, and we're going to now create the fold line. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. After you zoom, make sure you click on selection, because if you don't, it just carries on zooming in forever. Then we're going to use the node tool, which is this one, and we're going to click on that. Oh, I did it a bit too soon then, just ignore that, sorry. I'll just undo that. So we're going back onto that, and I'm going to hover until I get in the apex where that little line meets the other line from the elephant, turns to a little grey box, and click once. Then drag it down, straight down, drag straight down till you get to the other one and click again. then click once more to finish the line, bring up the properties box, make it a cutting line and a dashed line. So that will perforate your card in that position. At that point, I'm going to edit and group them so that that's not going to get moved away, and we'll go view fit to map to see how we are. So when that folds on that line, this trunk's going to come over to match this one, so it's facing the trunk facing to the right, this like this orientation. But obviously where the back end of the elephant was, it is going to be slightly missing. Not much, but then again, it's still going to be there. That's where your second copy comes in, because that's going to form a nice base layer that will give you the full elephant shape even after you've folded it. So what you would do is you'd cut that file with the perforations, fold there, and we'd go from this side over to this side, and then you'd stick that on top, this layer. I'll just make it a different colour so you can see. Sorry, not a drawing line, it needs to be a cut line. So I'll make it a different colour and a cut line. I'll bring it to the front. Oops, just help if it's selected. So we're going to bring that to the front, and that will then, if you can see, when it's folded, that's going to map straight onto that. Okay, so that's what that's going to be looking like when you've done that. Right, so we've got our other spare elephant, and this is so we can make the patchwork detail. So I'm just going to leave that to one side with our card, and we're going to work with the fourth copy, if you will, of what we've made. And I'm just going to bring on a basic rectangle shape, just a very basic, actually it's a square, not a rectangle, and all I am using this is to make some divisions. Now, where you choose to do them is absolutely 100% your choice, but I'm just going to do what I find pleasing to me. So I'm going to have my first cut there, if you will. So I'm going to go edit, process the overlap, and remove the overlap. Sorry, no, not remove the overlap, ignore that. Select both, make sure the rectangle's on top, and it's subtract. No, it's the other one. I always get a little bit confused with this, so it's the divide one then. And then we're going to have that one, and we'll still have the other part, like so. So that will form one of our layers. So then I'm going to rotate this. I'm going to use it again to create another. Might need to make it a little bit bigger. So remember, all I'm using this for is actually to split my elephant, and as long as it's on top, it really doesn't matter. So I'm going to go edit, and I've done the wrong one again. Edit and divide, and then that's going to give us that piece. So now we've got that piece and that piece, and we've got that left. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to delete that, so it's getting a bit messy. Bring on my next one. I'm going to make it spin around a little bit so that I can just crop off the trunk from the other bit. So I select both again and again with the divide, and then I've got my 4 pieces for my elephant. So there they are. So now I can delete that. So what I'll do is just bring that layer that we had there. We'll change these into some nice baby colours. So we'll have a nice baby pink. Remember, that will go there. So these will mat on top. Maybe a nice baby blue for the elephant's nose or the trunk. Like so. This one. And when you piece this together, it'll be just like piecing like the really simple jigsaw back together. We'll make that a nice minty green. And for the final piece, maybe a nice palish lemon colour. So there we have our layers. Now obviously I'm not lining them up perfectly on the screen, but you get the idea. So there are layers. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to just move that out the way so I can get the bottom one and move it to the side, because what I want to do now with these is I'm going to separate them by colour. And I suggest that you do that before you actually do the next step, although the next step can be done together. It just makes it easier for when you come to actually cut them in the different colours, which I suppose you could do if you wanted to add a 4-stitch line. We'll go to edit now with them all selected, create an offset, and I'm going to take it down to the lowest it can be and inward, and then I'm going to say OK. Now what you can see has happened there, if I zoom in a minute, is that it's created that offset line at the centre of each of those shapes. So I'm just going to click in the centre whilst holding my shift key down on each of those 4 shapes that I've created. Then I'm going to make them all drawing lines, and I'm going to make them a dashed line, and I'm going to use that dashed line. So that gives you that 4 stitch look. It's separate from the other one, but I'll keep it together. Now I suggest that if you're doing that, you make sure that your outer line is a cutting line. So you don't need to go on each one, make the outer line, the solid line, a cut line. And then if you keep them separate, that means it will only cut what you've selected, and it will only draw what you've selected. So it will draw that part and it will cut. I'll just get it. It will cut that part. If you group them, then what I've seen tends to happen is it ends up by drawing round the shape as well as then doing this 4 stitching and then cutting it out, which is fine if that's what you want to do. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to select the whole lot by dragging a box around everything, and I'm just going to group everything temporarily, and we're going to resize the parts of the elephant. Now bearing in mind we're wanting to get, this is going to be the base card, so this is the piece that makes the difference. This is the bit that needs to fit on the mat. You could rotate it a little, as that'll allow you to make it a little bit bigger. And if you put that in the middle now, you can see that if we drag that out, we can actually make it quite big on a 12 by 12 piece of card, like so. Okay, are you with me? So we could probably even go a little bit bigger. That's if you want to take it to its limit, the maximum that you could size, that you could cut it out at on a 12 by 12. Obviously, if this was a 12 by 24 inch mat, you could cut it even bigger. So I think we're probably just about at the limit there. So then what I would do is, I've got my base card there, and obviously that's going to fold across. That would, sorry, I've just moved everything. Just ignore that for a second. I'll just ungroup them and then I can show you rather than try and telling you. So we've got that bit that's going to make the card. There's the elephant base layer. These, oops, just be careful when you're selecting that you only select what you want, or else you're going to move everything again. And it's not wanting to let me do that, so I might have to do it sort of manually by clicking off. Just want those two, and it definitely wants to. I'm just going to move that up there for a little bit. Just going to move it out the way for a minute, just while I select this. And it's because I've got it tilted that I'm having a problem. There we go. And if I drag that off over here, then I can bring this back down so it's fitting on the mat. As long as we sit, when we come to try to download it, everything's on the mat, we're fine. Now if I come on here, we should be able to drag these on. Make sure you're fitting on the mat. Okay, and you drag that on. Like so. Just go down and get this bottom piece, drag it on. So that's how you can make the most out of the size of the elephant on your actual piece of card. For now though, I'm just going to select everything and I'm going to group it again. I'm going to resize it down just so that it fits on the back. Oh dear, I've missed one. Just ignore that, sorry. Go back to where we were. Select everything, edit and group. Shrink it down. So now we've got our file all together there. So we can still now ungroup and we can move it out. And you could cut it smaller or bigger or whatever if you just wanted to make it into sort of a, let's just see, you could make it into, I'm going to just undo everything that I just did because it's easier just to go back to where we were. There we are. And I'll just ungroup them like that. So it'd be easy enough if I just went backwards as many times as needed to get to where I was. So you could actually size that down and make it small for a tag. And again, if you have to select everything in order to do that, to do everything proportionally. Next, I'm going to drag on a circle and resize that down slightly. Well, quite a bit actually. And that's probably going to need to be something like black just to make it stand out. And that would form my elephant's eye once it's all sorted out. So that's how that's looking. Finally, I'd do a nice sentiment. I've done one in type converter and I called it congratulations. I'm going to open that one up and I'm just going to work with that for my sentiment. It is running a little bit on the slow side today, so I do apologise for that, but we're here now. Just move our elephant out of the way so that we can work on the sentiment. So I've selected all of the letters and I'm just going to drag them down onto the mat so I can see them a bit better, and then I'm going to zoom in so that you can see them a bit better. So the first thing I need to do is make sure that I've removed that centre. Remember, I've explained that in a previous one. And I found that if you use the subtract icon, when you come to weld it, it welds so much better. So I'm going to do that this time. So I'm just going across, just move that slightly. So I'm just going to move it back, clicking on it, and I'm just going on to the end process overlap, which is the subtract one, and I'm doing this on every letter, so just subtracting. Even if it doesn't look like it needs to, I find if you just do it with every letter, you know you're covering all your eventualities and you know that you're going to be okay when it comes to weld. So I'm just doing that. It takes a few minutes, but once you've done it, you can resize the file as many times as you want. You can make it really big, you can make it small, providing you're not trying to cut it. I would only advise you trying to draw the file. Now sometimes, here's an example, you get where the letters have moved slightly from where they should be, like the eye had moved position. So I've just moved it back, and that's just a glitch in the software. Just shunt it back using your arrow keys and carry on then doing the subtract function on the rest of the letters. Edit and subtract. Now I'm just going to show you, without doing the last one, just what happens if you try to weld it now without doing it. Can you see how it's took the holes out and left the rest in? So I'll just undo that and do that last letter, edit and subtract. So now when I go to weld, edit and weld, it's going to weld the word together, so that's now one word. I can move it around as one piece. I can shade it in so it's got a colour, so I could get it to draw it in any colour that I wanted. So if it was for a baby, probably I'd go with blue or pink. So that'd be how that looks, and that can be resized. Make it a drawing line if you're going to do it drawing. I tend to do these kind of things as sentiments rather than cutting ones when they're small. If they're bigger, then obviously I could cut it. If you want to make it cutting or drawing, then it gives you both options, that's fine. And make sure you click the fill the area in the outline with the drawing function. If you do select drawing, then it's going to fill it for you as well. So I'm just going to go view fit to mat so we can see everything on the thing. So that's obviously going to be too big for this elephant, but what I would do is resize the elephant, see how big you want the congratulations, and then make the change. Then there's nothing stopping you from making a couple of matting layers for it by bringing on whatever shape what you desire. Sort them out, make sure that they're central, vertical and horizontal so that it looks pleasing when it's on. So you could do it like that and then cut that out on a white piece, do it on some white paper, cream paper, get it to write your sentiment, and then get it to cut round that box that we've just put round it. And obviously resizing it to the size of your elephant card. Right, so that's it for this tutorial. If this has been helpful and you've liked it, please like, share and subscribe. Please also remember to leave any comments or questions in the appropriate area below. Okay, I'll see you next time. Bye for now.